Hello again YouTube and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. And this week there's an important safety announcement because I read all over social media and then the wider media that this is a ticking time bomb. Is it? We all know what it's like owning a car. You get to drive it to different places. You get to dump it on your driveway without really thinking about it. You get to park it in tight spots in cities, and quite often you have to park in big car parks. And that is what this week's video is all about, because this week there was an enormous car park fire at London Luton Airport here in the UK. This is an airport I know pretty well because I fly down to London and back on a fairly regular basis, like 3-4 times a month. So I know that airport a lot. And on the day of the fire, I was flying home from London. Happily, I was flying from Gatwick and not Luton, so I wasn't caught up in the carnage. But the word we're looking for is carnage, with the emphasis on car, because an enormous fire broke out in the car park, and it has basically completely trashed the car park and significant numbers of cars that were in there. We're talking hundreds. But as soon as the fire broke out, it was all over social media that this was obviously an EV, that it must be an EV. And then there were reports that it was an EV that was charging, which had caught fire, and that EV batteries are a terrible danger because once they ignite, they can't be stopped. And they're definitely going to ignite because EVs are flammable. And obviously normal cars are not flammable. And it went on and on and on. And then you've got newspaper articles talking about the fact that this fire is going on and showing the coverage. And they're then having to put denials in from the local fire brigade, who puts the fire out after hours and hours and hours battling this inferno. Denials that it actually wasn't an EV that started the fire after all, because the internet was consumed. Get the joke? Consumed by the idea that EVs are some kind of ticking, exploding bomb monster death car thing that's going to destroy your property if you're unlucky enough to park next to them. What on earth is going on? The simple reality of this one is it was not an EV which started that fire. It was not a Tesla or something else that was being charged up, where the battery pack underneath decided to spontaneously combust and then start this absolute inferno, which never happens on anything else, and destroyed the car park. It isn't true, but everybody seemed to be saying that it was. But let's talk a little bit about car fires, because how can I put this? Cars are kind of, well, Bernie. Internal combustion engine, ICE, with the emphasis there on combustion. These cars have got literal tanks of fuel. They have got 40, 50, 60, maybe more litres of highly flammable liquid, which is quite literally pumped into parts of the engine and set on fire. My airport car, Blue Midget there, this has got 1.4 litres of solid burning space for the petrol that goes inside it. And here's the thing, that actually happens more than people want to talk about. Under the bonnet of that car, it has got an awful lot of ignition sources for this highly flammable liquid, which is literally shunted from one part of the car to another to be set on fire. When internal combustion engine cars like this set on fire, they tend to burn. In fact, they burn so much and so hot that the tarmac under the car usually needs to be resurfaced before they can reopen the road where the burning vehicle was standing. So a very, 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 very hot thing with this literal rolling bomb. But no. That is the dangerous thing. That is to blame, according to the media. It's just nonsense. And let's just talk about the last time we had a really big fire in a car park to understand why that is. So in 2017, there was an enormous fire in a multi-storey car park in Liverpool. And what happened was that the fuel system of the internal combustion engine car caught fire. and that gets hot enough to then set off other cars next to it, because ultimately cars are quite good at burning once you get them going. The fire brigade, in its report afterwards, said that one car every 30 seconds was setting fire, and not just a little bit of fire, a lot of fire. It reported that there were literal burning rivers of fuel sloshing around the floor of the car park because of the popped fuel tanks in all of these cars as they were cooking off. The heat was so much that it actually literally collapsed the building. And the same thing has happened in Luton. There's been a structural collapse in parts of the building because of the heat of the fire. In Liverpool, basically there were no EVs. So back in 2017, plug-in cars of any description, full EV, plug-in hybrid or whatever, but plug-in cars were 2% of cars on the UK roads. So chances are there were almost none in that particular car park. And in reality, we know it wasn't an EV that started the thing anyway. It was a fuel car. And it set off other fuel cars with their inflammable fuel literally setting fire to the whole place. So why is it this time that everybody decided that it must be an EV? Because they're the only things that can set on fire or something. Except that that isn't the case either. The fire brigade who put the fire out in Luton have already said it was a diesel which caught fire. Video footage has been leaked to the media of somebody who actually saw it in the car park. This vehicle basically has been driven into the car park. Something has gone wrong with it. It has set on fire and the owner has abandoned it. It's a diesel. It's not an EV. In fact, it's so old that there weren't EV versions or even plug-in versions of it. It's a fuel car, and it sat there on fire, and like in Liverpool, the fire burns so hot that it sets off other cars. They burn rivers of fuel, and hey presto, the roof collapses and one floor pancakes down onto another. Exactly the same as in Liverpool. That's reality. But in some people's heads, that can't be true. The fire brigade must be lying, and somebody is forcing them to deny that it's an EV which is set on fire. This is madness. I have to ask the question, I drive an electric vehicle. Does that threaten somebody's worldview? Or does that actually threaten some people's manhoods? Is an EV, actually threatening to whatever pathetic existence they actually have? Is that really how bad it is? Because I've said before, the right-wing media have got an absolutely ludicrous push against EVs and definitely against Tesla. And okay, so Elon doesn't help with that, but they go on and on and on, coming up with all kinds of ludicrous stories about how terrible EVs are. Beyond Nyland even had one of his videos where he deliberately runs cars out to see how far they will go. That got picked up by one of our newspapers and turned into a story about how EVs were bad and that, it'd been stranded. It's complete madness and it's all lies. But this is the issue that we are facing. Most people still drive around in cars with an internal combustion engine and a big tank of highly flammable go bang bang liquid inside it. But no, that's not the danger. This is the thing with the battery, where, let's be honest about it, if you get a runaway battery heat thing, bad things can happen. That Samsung Galaxy Note phone that they had to withdraw because several of them started combusting themselves. That's not a good thing. But how many gazillion devices are there in the globe which have got these kind of batteries in, and how many of them burn themselves to a crisp while they're in your pocket? Really? How many? It's not very many, is it? It's not as simple as EV batteries are going to burn and that's a bad thing, whereas normal cars burning, well, that doesn't happen. Or maybe it is that simple, actually. Is that all it is? Are people really that, let's use the word, prejudiced, ignorant, stupid. These are the people who go on about EVs being some kind of fire risk. These are the people who go on about EVs being a car where you're going to have to replace the battery in 10 years. Absolutely guaranteed. I had somebody on one of my videos post that this afternoon, mocking EVs because you're going to have to pay a fortune to replace your battery. No, we're not. No, we're really not. And I think the only way that we can fix this is just basically holding a mirror up sometime and saying, guys, have you heard yourselves? You sound like absolute pranks. Just stop it. Anyway, look, this is, I promise, the last of me talking videos for a few weeks. I have got a load of driving the car videos, which actually would have gone up today had it not been for the Luton Airport fire. I had to talk about that. It's too interesting not to. If you haven't done already, please like and subscribe, hit the bell icon, share the video, and spread a little bit of knowledge to said pranks out there who are saying anti-EV things, because it'll help educate them and it helps the algorithm as well. And I will see you next time back here, providing it doesn't set on fire, on Just Get a Tesla.